gewoond, dus ik kan goed Nederlands. Ik kan goed Nederlands, but English is a little bit easier for me. So if you don't mind, I'm going to switch to English. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to ask you to do as we get started, you are from the islands. I'm from Suriname, and so as far as I'm concerned, Suriname, Dutch Caribbean, we family. So in my family, when we get together, and it is important, we always start with a song. So ladies and gentlemen, wherever you are, I want you to open up your mics. Everybody open up your mics. And I can see your name, so I can also see you're not doing so. Yes, and I'm gonna call you out. So open up your mics. Okay, very good. So we always start with a song, and that does not mean that I'm going to sing by myself, but we're going to sing together. So I'm going to sing Vikong Vikong, and you answer with Ja. Okay, very simple. So I'll go Vikong Vikong, you go.
Ja.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. All right, some people are a little bit braver than others. Okay, good. So Vikong Vikong.
Ja.
We do that twice, and then we all sing Vikong Vikong Ja. Okay, let's give it a shot. Here we go. Vikong Vikong
Ja.
Very good. Vikong
Ja.
Very nice. And then we all go. Vikong. Let me hear you. Vikong.
Ja.
Vikong.
Ja.
Vikong. You can turn your mics off. All right. Okay, you passed the test. Very good. So Vikong means in Suriname, we come together, and Ja means right here, right now, right? So it's a moment to say, we are here, and that means something. And it means something that you are here, because you all know you have traveled physically, you have traveled mentally, you have left family behind to pursue this education. So you are here, and that means something. So at Vikong, we just start off by saying, just to take a moment to mark that, because that's very important. So I have a few minutes to talk about this thing called motivation, right? And motivation, and I'm going to lay, and so I'm going to talk to you a little bit about motivation versus expectations. I want to talk to you about this concept of distance and how hopefully that can work for you when it comes to motivation. And then I want to talk to you a little bit about motivation and inspiration, okay? So when it comes to motivation, and you already had an introduction about how important motivation is. Motivation is that drive, that engine that keeps you going. It's like, yes, I can do this. Yes, I can go for it. And it might be that because of where you grew up, for a long time, you got these messages instilled in you about what you were going to do after you graduated. And you're going to go to the Netherlands, and you're going to go wherever, and you're going to study, and that can be motivating force. And then you actually get there. Woo, and then it's a whole different story. It's a whole different story from what you expected, not just about education, but just the weather. Can we just talk about the weather? So you come from these beautiful islands, and now you have to deal with the cold, and and you miss the food, and you miss the people, and so on and so on. So you might have had that drive. Excuse me. Excuse me. So you might have had that drive, but your motivation might have been affected. So what I want to give to you, that when it comes to motivation, at the core, motivation is about how you feel on the inside. What makes you happy? That's what it comes back down to. What makes you happy? And so the moment you start to not feel happy, the moment you feel not joyous, somehow you are removed. So that motivating force is about, when I'm doing this work, when I'm studying, this is where I'm meant to be. And that's what makes me happy. to bring it back to the basics. And there will be plenty of times when you're not happy, when the work is hard, when you're missing home. And so you might lose that connection, you might lose that drive, and that's okay. Because you don't stay there all the time, obviously, that's okay. But when you start losing motivation to the point that you don't want to study anymore, to the point that you quit, to the point that you feel disconnected from yourself, I don't know who I am anymore, then it becomes a problem. So again, so that you lose motivation every now and then, that's human, that's normal, right? But when you get so far removed and we start getting into the realm of depression or feeling disconnected or whatever, then it becomes a problem. And so my advice to you, what I want to give to you again, is to start thinking about motivation. When you start feeling off, go back to the inside. Okay, what do I feel? What am I feeling? What feels off? And why is that there? So the answer is on the inside, but yet a lot of our motivation has come from the outside. So we have an inside force that we live with, but we have these outside voices that influence us. Voices from our family, voices from your parents, voices from your peers, voices from anybody and everybody on the island. They have all these expectations that influence you that might affect your motivation. So I want to ask you real quick, use the chat if you don't mind. And in the chat, write down a phrase or two of some of these expectations that have been communicated to you. I left home. I was born and raised in the Netherlands, but I left and went to the US. And so what are some, type away, what are some of the things that were said to you as far as the expectations that people had for you, and that perhaps feel you have to live up to? Kom niet terug zonder diploma. Do not come back without a diploma. That's a good one. Sounds familiar? Or I know for one, you're going to make your whole family proud. So it's not enough that I have to worry about me. I have to, I'm carrying the whole family legacy. Little bit of pressure. All right. What are some other things? Type it out for me. Go out and be somebody. That's a strong message there. Do not go back to Curacao within your first year. So if you have that urge, you better learn how to suppress it. Ouders hebben allebei universiteit gedaan. Both parents did university. So there's the expectation that you will do it as well. Become who you are. Don't shame me. Woo, don't shame me, and do your best. Don't stray from the path of God. Don't have a child until you have that degree. All right. Yeah. We get into some interesting things, and we can laugh about it, but at the same time, you carrying those messages with you, right? You carrying those messages with you. And so again, we have the inside voice that invites, which is about all of who you are and the joy that you have in the life that you live. But then we have these outside voices. And a lot of times people mean very well. They might mean very well, but those voices, once you get away and you start experiencing life and like, maybe I'll think about it differently. And all of a sudden, what you've had from home and those messages and who you are, they don't align anymore. So quickly, I want to share a story with you. When I left the Netherlands, I went to Kentucky. Kentucky is the South, the southern part of the United States. So Kentucky, we think, rednecks, we think farmers, that's Kentucky. And so when I was in the residence hall, shows you how long ago, we had rotary phones and we had one phone for the whole floor, right? So whenever the phone would ring, people would run down the hall like, oh, it's probably my boyfriend, and then they would, and then they would hold the phone the whole time, So you always had girls running down the hall to get the phone. Well, we had this one girl, and the girl was from Kentucky, this white girl, and her name was Peggy Sue. And every Friday night, Peggy Sue's family would call, and we knew it. And we said, Peggy Sue, don't answer the phone. It's your folks, don't answer the phone. But Peggy Sue, like us, is from a culture where you respect your elders. So every Friday night, Peggy Sue would answer the phone. And every Friday night, Peggy Sue stood in the hallway crying because her parents would go, Peggy Sue, What you doing there? A girl ain't got no business getting an education. Just come on home to the farm. Just come on and get married. Girls should not get an education. And she would go, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am. And then her father would come on the phone, Peggy Sue, why don't you come home? You know, you belong on a farm. Just get married. You have no business getting an education. Every Friday night, she was told that she should quit because she was a girl. Every Friday night, she stood there and cried and she listened obediently. So Peggy Sue's drive and her passion was about getting this education, but those voices that were very strong told her something different. And eventually Peggy Sue quit and went home because it was just too much. You know, she left. She got married like her parents wanted to. Another thing about Kentucky, there's a lot of problems in terms of poverty and drugs. So she got involved with somebody who was into drugs. And so her life was not pleasant. She had 2 children. And then I graduated. I went to graduate school and I ran into Peggy Sue. And Peggy Sue told me that she got married, had 2 children. She'd gotten divorced because he was into drugs. She'd gotten divorced and she was back in school. You know, and she said, and I'm going to get my degree no matter what, you know. And so I'm sharing the story of Peggy Sue because, first of all, you don't know what somebody's story is, right? And sometimes you are motivated and you have motivation, but there's these outside voices that have other expectations for you, and it doesn't clash with who you are, right? And you might give into that. That's what Peggy Sue did. Finally, she's like, okay, fine, these are my parents, and she listened. But still, ultimately, she came back to what was best for her. And she's like, no matter what, I'm going to get that degree. So all that to share with you, sometimes we have these paths and these plans, you know, and things just go differently. You know, things that, you know, life happens. Somebody said here, you know, don't have a child until you have your degree. You know what? People have babies before they have their degrees. They do. And they're still good people. And they can still achieve things, right? So it's a nice thing, but it's a burden that you carry. So you don't know what your journey is. But so it's up to you to connect with who am I? What is best for me? You know, how will I get inspired? You know, and sometimes that might be differently from the expectations that are placed upon you. And so I want to say something about this thing called distance, you know, because I left home. And so even though I was far away from home, I was not as, you know, and even though Peggy Sue was right there from Kentucky, Peggy Sue was further away from home than I was. Because I had a family that would call and say, we believe in you, hang in there, don't give up, you can do it. Peggy Sue was from right there, and they were like, come on home, you have no business being there. So this distance, you know, so how distant you feel, sometimes it's about the physical distance, but sometimes it's about, you know, my family might be far away, but they have my back and I carried them with me, you know? And so how do you make that connection with your family? How do you carry them with you as your support, even though you are far away? And for some of us, it's good to be away. For some of us, you know, I'm finally free. I can explore and I can make my own mistakes without everybody watching me. And that's fine too. Again, so all that to say, this distance, sometimes it makes it hard because you miss people, and that's, you know, that's understandable. I've been there. But at the same time, part of you being away is now you can explore. You know, some people wrote, you know, become who you're meant to be. And sometimes you have to leave home so you can explore, so you can make your own mistakes, because you are allowed to make mistakes. You have to make mistakes. They're not even mistakes. You know, they're learning lessons, they're challenges, they're things to overcome, right? And if you're at home, it's like, I can't believe you did. Yeah. I'm falling, but I'm getting back up, right? And so you need to have that room, you know? And so look at this distance for what it is. There will be times that you miss home, especially when it gets cold. I'm all that, you know, when you miss the food, when you miss all of that. But also the distance is also a good thing because it allows you to explore. It allows you to grow, you know? And so try to work, you know, how can I use that to build my motivation? Right. And so, and part of that is exactly what you're doing right here. You're building a community, you're building a support system, you know, with somebody that you can speak your own language with when you get sick and tired of speaking Dutch or whatever. You know, you can speak Papiamento, you can do, you know, you need that. Build your network to support you, you know. For me, I had people that supported me, but whenever I was homesick, I could not call my mother, you know. And the reason why, because when I would call my mother, first thing I would, oh my God, oh my baby, oh my boy, are you okay? That's the way, So I cannot call home and say I miss you because, yeah, that's what I get. But I could call my auntie, I could call my cousin, or if I have a bad day, I do not call my mother because then my mother will be sick for 3 days, So who can I call? Because sometimes I do need to hear that voice from home. Or if I call my mother, I better call when I'm in a good mood. I cannot call when I'm feeling sad So be strategic about what is it that I need, right? So again, our motivation is not just one thing. There are days I feel great. There are days I feel low. That's all part of it. But you build your strategies and you build your network. And again, and this, and again, sometimes you have high days and sometimes you have low days. So in bringing it to a close is that we have these expectations, leave them for what they are. They're nice. Ultimately, it comes back to you. And instead of looking for the expectation, look for what inspires me. Who inspires me? What inspires me? And sometimes, when you're feeling low, you can go out and sit underneath a tree and your inspiration comes from that. One of the things I do, I go out and I find water and I go walk by the water. And you can do that. We don't have the nice beaches that you have, but we do have a beach. It's not as sunny and as nice as yours, but you can go to the ocean when make time, to separate yourself sometimes from the work. What inspires me? Who inspires me? Listening to music. I'm going to find somebody who can cook me some food the way my family cooks it. And sometimes that's what makes the difference with you getting back into alignment with who you are and getting the best of yourself and being inspired to move on, as opposed to anything else. So with that, I know I've talked a whole lot. With that, I hope I've given you something to think about. And when it gets to be too much, we started with singing for a reason, to get us focused, but also we all come from a culture where music and song is very important, and song also reminds you to breathe, breathe. When you have to get back to who you are, you start with because life in the Netherlands can be, oh my gosh, I have to do this and I didn't do this and blah, 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 blah. Right? Bring it back to that, and then from there, what do I need to do? Do I need to call home? Do I say, Mom, send me those cookies that whatever. Sometimes it's the little things that can make a difference with getting you back on track. So all that to say, I'm so glad that you are here. Build your network, support each other, share, help each other out. And I wish you all the best. Thank you very much. And thank you for singing with me. Very nice job. Very nice job.